Good morning again, everybody. Bill Cloud here once again with you, bringing you on this day. Today is the 12th day of the month Adar. And it was on this day, the year 19 BC, that a dedication ceremony was held to initiate the expansion of the temple under the auspices of Herod the Great. The historian Josephus recorded that in the 15th year of his reign, Herod rebuilt the temple and encompassed a piece of land about it with a wall, which land was twice as large as that before enclosed. The expenses he laid out upon it were vastly large also, and the riches about it were unspeakable. The buildings of this particular temple were apparently so lavish that Jewish rabbis of the day, who were not very fond of Herod, had to concede that there were few buildings in the world as majestic and as beautiful as Herod's temple. And while the main parts of Herod's temple were completed before his death in 4 BC, the work actually went on for another 60 years. When Jesus visited the temple during the first Passover of his ministry, it was said that the temple had been under construction for about 46 years. The work on the temple was not entirely completed until the year 63 AD, just 7 years before it was destroyed by the Romans in the year 70. So consequently, it had only been completed for 7 years before it was destroyed by a Roman prince, but that's another story. As grand as it was, there was a glaring flaw in this temple. The Ark of the Covenant, which was considered as God's throne on earth, and the Urim and the Thummim were not present in this temple. So with the absence of these components, which represented the presence of the Creator and the means to obtain direction from Him, it would seem that Herod's temple was not at all as it appeared to be. In other words, it wasn't really serving God's intended purposes where the sanctuary was concerned, at least not fully. Furthermore, even as construction continued on this project, Messiah prophesied of its ultimate destruction. In Matthew 24, beginning at verse 1, it tells us this: Then Yeshua went out and departed from the temple, and his disciples came up to show him the buildings of the temple. And Yeshua said to them, Do you not see all these things? Assuredly I say to you, not one stone shall be left here upon another that shall not be thrown down. Perhaps the Messiah was letting us know that it doesn't matter how beautiful something looks or even how godly it appears to be on the outside. What matters is what's on the inside. Where the temple was concerned, it was God's presence that mattered. Unfortunately, many of those who adored the temple of Herod didn't recognize the very one it was supposedly dedicated to. They failed to recognize him in large part because they were focusing too much on outward appearances and the doctrines of men rather than on what the Messiah was saying and doing, which was the perfect will of the Father. Is it possible that had these leaders hailed him as Messiah and King, is it possible that things might have turned out differently for the nation and for the temple? Of course, we'll never know, but here is something we must know. As temples of the Holy Spirit, His people must not be devoid of His presence. When people encounter us, they should be more impressed by who dwells in us, more so than what we look like on the outside. Because if He does not dwell in us, then the world is merely gazing upon a whitewashed sepulcher full of dead men's bones. When people see this temple, our bodies, what they see on the outside needs to be a true reflection of what's on the inside. If they see someone who's wearing the trappings of righteous living, then they should also perceive a heart within that person who is inclined to righteousness and not self-righteousness. If we're truly to be His temple, then He must be enthroned upon our hearts and our lives be filled with His Spirit. And so we must strive to walk upright before Him, that His presence may continually reside within us for all to witness. So then, let's be determined today that we will be that living, thriving temple of the Holy Spirit. That is our purpose. Thanks for joining me today. We'll see you again tomorrow. Shalom.
Like what you're hearing? Become a Bill Cloud Premium Partner to watch or listen to hundreds of hours of teachings and resources on demand. Go to BillCloud.com/subscribe to start watching today.